They call him the Mexican Monster, and for good reason. He doesn't just beat opponents. He dismantles them with a calculated, high-volume assault that feels more like a force of nature than a sport. Unbroken and unstoppable, David Benavidez is a titan disguised in gloves and bad intentions. But tonight, the violence takes a back seat to the legacy. Today, we're stepping away from the canvas to see how a modern legend actually lives. From cruising the neon-lit streets of Miami in his custom, gold-plated Lamborghini Urus to the silent, predatory luxury of his glass-walled penthouse overlooking the Atlantic. As of 2026, Benavidez has officially transcended the sport to become a financial powerhouse, boasting an estimated net worth of $11 million. This is a life of unapologetic dominance, carved directly from years of chaos, grit, and sacrifice. Before we step into the reign of the monster, hit that like button and subscribe, because tonight, a king is coming for his throne. Before the multi-million-dollar contracts and the bright lights of Las Vegas, there was a boy in Phoenix staring at a reflection he didn't recognize. Born on December 17, 1996, David was raised in the unforgiving, dry fire of the Arizona desert. Trained by his father, Jose Benavidez Sr., alongside his brother Jose Jr., his earliest lessons weren't in the art of fame. They were in the brutal necessity of raw survival. But here's what almost ended it before it even began. As a teenager, his weight soared to a staggering 250 pounds, threatening to turn a generational prodigy into a tragic what-if story. It took 2 long years of silence, trading sugar for sweat and crippling doubt for iron discipline, to undergo a total metamorphosis. He wasn't just losing weight. He was shedding a version of himself that the world would have pitied. By age 15, he was holding his own against world-class, fully grown men like Gennady Golovkin before he was even legally allowed to drive. That quiet resolve carried him into the record books. At just 20 years old, he became the youngest super middleweight world champion in history. But this wasn't just about winning fights. Something bigger was forming, a legacy built on the ashes of his own doubt. His professional rise was defined by a level of technical precision that made even seasoned veterans uncomfortable. From obliterating Erasmo Mendoza in 2013 to signing with promoter Samson Lukovic in 2015, David was a boy fighting men and solving them with a rhythmic, machine-gun volume of punches few could sustain. By 2017, the boxing world was officially on notice after he flattened Rogelio Medina with a legendary 8-punch combination. He was at the top of the mountain, and this is where everything went wrong. In 2018, a scandal involving a positive test for benzoylecgonine stripped him of his title and his momentum in an instant. Critics claimed the monster had destroyed his own legacy. They were wrong. Redemption wasn't something David asked for. It was something he took with cold restraint. He returned in 2019 to dismantle Julian Love and reclaim his throne by systematically breaking down the veteran Anthony Dirrell, proving his chin was made of granite and his heart was built for the dark, deep waters of championship war. He showed the world that a champion isn't defined by how he falls, but by the ferocity with which he rises. The titles were returning, but the man wearing them had changed. He was no longer just chasing a belt. He was chasing an empire. Even when discipline proved to be a cruel teacher, costing him his belt on the scales in 2020, his in-ring control remained undisputed. He rampaged through the division, crushing names like Ronald Ellis and David Lemieux with surgical efficiency. Then came Caleb Plant. It was a masterclass in psychological breakdown, proving Benavidez could box with technical finesse and use his jab as a precision tool just as well as he could brawl. By 2024, he moved up to light heavyweight to conquer new territory, claiming the WBC interim title against the heavy-handed Oleksandr. The year 2025 served as his transition into legend status. On February 1st, he faced the unbeaten Cuban sensation David Morrell. Despite being briefly staggered by a lightning-fast hook, he outworked the younger star to unify the WBC and WBA titles. He followed this in November 2025 by traveling to the emerging global boxing capital of Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. There, he weathered a genuine war against the dangerous Anthony Yarde, eventually stopping the British contender in the 7th round and solidifying his permanent residence in the global pound-for-pound top 10 rankings. He had successfully turned his hands into currency, but the shadow of the ring never truly leaves a man who fights for a living. This empire of luxury wasn't handed to him. It was forged through brutal training camps and the reality of sacrifice at the highest level. Today, his primary residence is a high-rise penthouse in Miami's Brickell district, a sleek, glass-wrapped sanctuary overlooking the Atlantic. Floor-to-ceiling windows flood the space with light, while its location places him minutes away from elite training facilities like BOXR Gym. It's not just a home. It's a statement of arrival, blending performance, privacy, and a lifestyle rooted in Miami's elite Latino culture. And in Las Vegas, the fight capital of the world, he holds a high-end property that keeps him close to the center of boxing's biggest stages. Together, these homes form a multi-city lifestyle, built not just for luxury, but for strategy, legacy, and control. His garage serves as a personal cathedral of horsepower. The centerpiece of this automotive arsenal is a $1.5 million Ferrari SF90 Straight Ale, a hybrid hypercar finished in a deep, aggressive red that mirrors his own explosive tactical speed. It sits alongside a $960,000 Lamborghini Aventador S Roadster, a car defined by the raw, visceral scream of its V12 engine. He recently debuted a custom 2023 Lamborghini Urus, a wide-bodied one-of-one creation wrapped in a striking, mirror-finish gold that reflects the neon lights of South Beach. When the mood shifts toward quiet dominance, he moves to the whispered, timeless elegance of a Rolls-Royce Ghost. Or for a touch of American heritage, he ignites the supercharged 2021 Mustang GT Premium he secured from Hearst Autoplex. Whether it's his heavy-duty, specialized Shelby truck or the silent, electric efficiency of his Tesla for recovery days, every vehicle is a trophy earned in blood. Now, with a flawless 31-0 record and 25 devastating knockouts, he stands as the most feared force in professional boxing. But when the flashing lights dim and the adrenaline of the crowd fades, he retreats to a world of quiet, fierce devotion in Miami. At the heart of his life is his wife, Karina Silva, a powerhouse entrepreneur in her own right. Karina manages multiple luxury boutiques and high-end med spas while standing firmly by David through every grueling, 8-week isolation camp where the world is shut out. Together, they've turned Miami's prestigious Brickell district into a fortress and a sanctuary for their children. Their eldest son, Anthony, already showing a natural interest in the heavy bag, and their young daughter represent the profound peace that balances David's professional life. To the world, he is the Mexican monster. To them, he is simply Dad, the man who willingly enters the fire of the ring so they can live forever in the shade of his success. David's personal life in 2026 is anchored by Karina's formidable business acumen. She co-owns Botanica Beauty Studio and founded the fashion line's Dress in Love and Nude Fodges, building her own diverse business empire while David builds his legacy. But his business portfolio is expanding even further, moving him closer to the billionaire mogul status achieved by greats like Floyd Mayweather. Beyond his lucrative Mexican Monster merchandise line, he has secured major endorsements with global giants like Adidas and Boxraw, as well as lucrative partnerships with Grodex and Legend Auto Sales. He is no longer just a fighter. He is a multifaceted global brand. Yet, controversy remains part of his shadow. The loss of his title in 2018 and the high-profile weight miss in 2020 are still discussed by skeptics who question his long-term discipline. Even his 2025 victory over Anthony Yarde sparked heated debate, with some labeling his stunning 18-punch left-hand barrage as a controversial display of foul play. Most recently, boxing legend Oscar de la Hoya publicly questioned Benavidez's chin ahead of tonight's cruiserweight debut, remarks David quickly dismissed as noise from a promoter watching his own influence wane. Tonight, May 2nd, 2026, David Benavidez walks through the tunnel of the T-Mobile Arena to challenge Gilberto "Zurdo" Ramirez for the unified titles. He isn't just looking for another win to add to his resume. He is looking to become a three-division world champion at 200 pounds. If this is what the monster achieved before age 30, overcoming the literal weight of his own body and the crushing pressures of early fame, one question remains for the boxing world. What happens to the competition when a monster finally stops being hungry? Because the scariest version of David Benavidez isn't the one chasing greatness. It's the one that finally realizes he already has it, and that he has everything to lose. Don't miss out on exclusive content. Click the link in the description to become a channel member for early access. If you enjoyed this journey into the life of a champion, hit that like button and stay tuned for our upcoming feature on the legendary Juno Nakatani. Thanks for watching.